Today, we're going to talk about how to beat drumline back pain, specifically with 3 tools to slay the beast. And I'd like to start with my battle with the beast. The story begins with this charming young man. He's a freshman in high school, 14 years old, 5 feet tall on a good day, 130 pounds, very determined to prove myself as a new member of the Drumline. And I had minimal training experience. I had the strength of a plastic spoon in a tub of frozen ice cream. It could get the job done, but don't push too hard, you know what I mean? As both the smallest and least physically fit person on the Drumline, naturally, I became a member of the quad line, of course. It was destiny, right? So this is where I met the back pain beast of Drumline. I battled this beast at every rehearsal, walking with my gear from the band room to the field in pain. Tracking blocks, oh my God, in pain. Standing in spot, you know when you finish the opener and you pause for like 16 counts? I was that kid who was like, moving around in pain. Nobody prepared me for this epic battle between the back pain beast of Drumline and my 14-year-old self. Now, based off of this, who do you think won this battle? This guy right here stood no chance. You see, the back pain beast of Drumline strikes with 2 weapons. The first one is the force. This is the weight of the drums and gravity. And if that's not enough, it challenges you with time under tension, how many reps you're doing. We'll get into those. And my experience defending myself against the force and time under tension can be summed up in one very simple word: ow. I had no tools to defend myself against this beast other than toughing it out. And despite the pain I faced battling this beast at every rehearsal, I couldn't quit. There's just something so special about this community right here, and that feeling of accomplishment that you get at the end of the season. And most importantly, my parents just wouldn't let me quit, even though I tried. I went on to march 4 incredible years of drum corps, where I woke up in pain, and I rehearsed in pain, and I went to bed in pain, and I just grew to accept that back pain must be a part of this process. And what I find absolutely crazy is that during my 8 years carrying quads competitively, I never once learned how to train my back for carrying that heavy freaking drum. And my battle continues to this day. This is an X-ray of a spine. More specifically, this is my spine. So you're looking at this. And this right there is my scoliosis. Right there. That abnormal curve feels like stiffness and tightness in my mid-back that just cannot crack. And it's always there, and it makes it very difficult to stand for periods of more than 1 hour. And you can imagine I need to do that. So scoliosis, let's talk about this real quick. Here on the left, we have a healthy spine. We're looking from the back to the front like this. You can see that the spinal joints are lined up. They're stacked on top of each other, a nice column. And over here on the right, we see a curve to the side. This is what my back is doing. And the reason why my back is doing that is because I carried quads from a young age, and I did not have the strength to hold them and march for the duration of a rehearsal. And so gravity did its thing, and it squished me down into my hips, and now I live with that. But not all curves are bad. Here, this is a side view, so now we're looking at this. The spine does have a curve in the front to back plane, and on the left, we can see what good posture looks like. Note the alignment from the ankle, the knee, the hip, shoulder, and ear. A nice straight line with a neutral pelvis, slight forward tilt, very slight. And on the right over here, we see different postural deviations. The most common one I see in the drumming community is this one in the middle, right here. Notice the hips are sinking forward, which then causes the spine to get this rounding in the upper back, which looks something like that. Okay, now, obviously, we're striving for this over here on the left. That's the goal. So how did I learn about posture? I am a former PTA. In my mid-20s, I was on that teaching and writing grind, and I was inspired to study physical therapy because of how many injuries, how much pain I saw in the marching community, and I wanted to help them. As a PTA, I treated all sorts of patients, including various athletes from all sorts of sports. They would come to our clinic after suffering an injury in practice or in a game, and by recognizing their sport-specific demands, I tailored the treatments to what they were doing in their sport and helped many of them heal through their injuries and safely return to sport. And while working with athletes of all these sports, I quickly realized that each sport has its own beast that must be slayed. For example, baseball players and shoulder pain, that's a thing. Tennis players with wrist pain, that's a thing. And what was interesting is that no matter how big and scary their beast was, each one of them was slayed with 3 simple tools, which we'll cover very shortly. So after several years of helping patients slay their beast, I had an epic idea. What if I teach the marching community how to use these same tools to slay our beast and stop living in pain, achieve better performance? And that is what sparked Forte Athletics, where I now have the honor of educating our community and empowering a future of stronger performers who have the tools to slay their beast and march pain-free. So the back pain beast of the Drumline, he's coming for you. He's coming for you next, but you don't need to fear. Before you go into battle, let me prepare you for victory. The back pain beast of Drumline has thick armor-like skin, and it's layered with years of tension and pressure. It is heavy. And to defeat this beast, we need a weapon powerful enough to slice through its defenses. What you need is a razor-sharp sword of strength. What is the sword of strength? This is the force you generate to stand tall, slicing through the beast's armor and pushing back against its weight. To use this, you engage your core and back muscles to stabilize your posture, holding your ground and keeping control even as you get tired. Now, the back pain beast of Drumline can't be defeated with a dull sword. Here are 3 signs that your sword is dull. First is losing posture. If you're wearing your drums and you are slouching into there, your sword needs some sharpening. If you got wobbly drums, it's not just your drums wobbling, it is your spinal segments as well. If you're experiencing back pain, your sword is dull. So how do you sharpen your sword of strength? Back in my day, the answer was more reps. And you know how that turned out. To begin, let's identify the forces from the back pain beast of the Drumline. Here, I'm carrying a set of quads. The first force we need to identify is the weight of the drum, which varies depending how many drums you have, which model you're using. This weight isn't falling to the ground because it's held on my body with a contact point in front at the belly plate and contact point in back behind my shoulders. Now, the reason why I'm leaning forward is because gravity is pulling everything that direction. Now, when all of these forces interact together, it creates a rotational force called torque. And as we look at this torque, this rotation, notice how at the hip joint, the force is going from the front to the back. It's going this way, front to back. However, at the top, the force is going from the back to the front. It's pushing my shoulders forward. So if we want to combat against these forces, we need to engage the opposite direction. So over here, with flat drums, we're pushing the hips and belly forward into the belly plate, and we're pulling the shoulders back into the back bar. This is what we need to do. So you need 3 exercises to resist the force and stand with tall posture. Let's start with the pelvis. Here is a pelvis performing a movement called a pelvic tilt. The pelvis rolls forward and it rolls backwards. And I would like you to notice how the spine, the shape of the spine is influenced by the rotation of the pelvis. When the hips roll forward, the spine curves excessively. When the hips roll backwards, the spine straightens out. Now, when we're battling the drums, we need the hips to rotate backwards. So in order to do that, there are two muscles that we need to train. The first one is up here in front. It connects from your rib cage to your pubic bone. This is your lower abdomen. Back there, we have our glutes, which connect from your pelvis to the thigh. These two muscles work together to stabilize your pelvis against the belly plate. And just notice how we have a connection beneath the pelvis and a connection above the pelvis. That's what gives us control of the pelvis. Here's what these pelvic tilts look like in real life. Again, this anterior pelvic tilt has a lot of compression in the lower back, and that's what most of us do. We put the drums on, and we're like, ah! And that's going to trigger a lot of pain. Now, we're not striving for a posterior pelvic tilt. We're not trying to do this. We want that neutral position. So, to build strength in your lower abs, I've got some exercises, and I would like to invite the volunteers to come up here. We're going to do this in real time. Please give a round of applause for our volunteers. So this move right here is called the hollow body. And if you follow Forte Athletics, you have for sure seen this. Let's just do this in real time. Can you all please lie down on your back? Excellent. From here, please tuck your knees up towards your chest. Both knees up, both knees towards the chest. Excellent. Take your hands and reach for your feet. Great. So from this position, they're pressing their lower back into the floor. Now, extend one leg out and just hold this. And as you do this, you will feel tension or trembling in your lower abs. Do you all feel that? Press your lower back into the floor. Keep it engaged. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Great job. Simple. It's an exercise that anyone of any experience level could do. So there are ways to make this harder. Please just wait here. We'll get back to you. You can chill. You can have a nap if you'd like. By straightening both legs out over here, you are increasing the weight on the other side of the hips, which makes it much harder to keep your pelvis locked in. However, over here on the left, we're taking one leg out, increasing the intensity, and bringing it back in. This is a lot more beginner-friendly, and this is where I start most students with. So we went over the cues. For training this, you want to focus on time. This is a timed exercise, like a plank. Begin with 15 seconds, work your way up to 20, and work your way up to 30, always focusing on form. Okay? As soon as your lower back arches off the ground, it's time to take a break. Train this 3 to 5 intervals, 3 times per week. You will make significant progress. Now, the second piece of this equation, right, that was the lower abdomen in front. Now we got to hit the glutes in the back, is a bridge with a march. As we do this, the pelvis is staying rotated backwards, tilting back, engaging the glutes. Can you all please bend your knees with your feet flat? Go ahead and bring your feet closer to your body. There you go. Feet flat on the ground, arms out at the side, palms down. Palms down. Excellent. From here, drive through your heels to lift your hips up as high as you can, aiming for that straight line from the knee to the shoulder. Can you all feel that tightness behind your hips? Excellent. This is level 1. This is what everyone should start with. We're going to take it up a notch, see if they can hang. Can you raise one knee up towards your chest without letting your hips drop? They're doing it. I see some wobbling side to side. Go ahead and lower it down slowly. And raise the other leg up, keeping the hips high up. Hips high, hips high. There you go. Squeeze and slowly lower down. And drop down. Great job. Did you feel that tightness behind the hips? Again, this is an exercise that anyone with no experience can quickly learn and perform. Go ahead and rest there. We got another one coming up. We went over the heels, right? Again, we're training this for time rather than reps. If the longer they hold it, the harder it is. Always prioritize form. Keep those hips nice and high off the ground. They will want to sink as you do this. Move slowly with control. Training this 3 times per week. Ideally, right after your hollow body, since you're already in that position. So when you add hollow body with the glute bridge, you're able to go from this 2, flat. Flat drums. You are generating the forces you need to fight that torque that you're feeling, specifically down near the belly plate. Okay, now, as we mentioned, there are 2 pieces of here. You have the belly plate and you have the upper back bar. So now, for the upper back, we got the forces coming from the back to the front. Okay, they're pushing the shoulders forward, so we need to push the shoulders back. We need to force that direction. This hip hinge is the way to go. You maintain a flat back here, while the force of gravity is trying to pull your spine down, but you stay locked in so you don't drop the chest. Can we try this? Go ahead and stand up. This one's a little more complicated to learn, but I have good faith in them. I think they're going to nail it. Let's stand with our feet shoulder width apart. Yeah, we're going to face this wall. Stand with the feet shoulder width apart. Excellent. And now push your hips back as if you're trying to close the door behind you, and bend your knees generously. Keep pushing your hips back and keeping your chest up, trying to get your spine in a horizontal position. Go ahead and try that. Good, keep the chest up. Now this feels new, right? It feels different. And return back up to the starting position. Again, we're pushing the hips back, hinging forward at the waist. Go ahead and try it with me. Excellent, keeping your spine up nice and tall. Can you bring your arms up overhead and hold this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Awesome job, good work. Good, and if you'd like, you can head back down. Thank you for your help. So how do we make this harder? Because your drums are a little heavier than gravity. You know, we can't make gravity stronger. Can anyone think of what we could do here? We could add weight underneath us, which is going to make it harder to keep your spine straight. And the beauty about adding weight beneath you is that this doesn't have to be a heavy weight. It could be 2 pounds, it could be 1 pound, and you can gradually work your way up to heavier weights while maintaining good form. And this right here, if I had to say there's one exercise that feels like wearing a drum, it is that one right there. And so the key is to push the weight away from your body. As you push it away, it makes it a lot harder to keep your spine neutral. Again, I have a ton of videos on that. Some cues for this are to push your hips back, bend forward while keeping a flat back, and I recommend learning this with a dowel or a PVC pipe to practice good form. The goal is to maintain 3 points of contact at your tailbone, shoulder blade, and head to ensure that your spine is staying straight throughout. Focusing on time, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. These are timed reps. It's not, I'm going to do 10. It's, no, I'm going to do 40 seconds. However I need to get there. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, whatever it takes. Prioritize the form. As soon as your back starts to round, your shoulders drop. It's too heavy. You're getting tired. Train this 3 times per week with your hollow body and your glute bridge. Trust. So these are all time-based exercises to build isometric strength and stability, specifically for carrying a drum. Isometric meaning your muscle is producing force, but there's no movement happening. It's just squeezing, which is exactly what you need to carry your equipment. This is how you sharpen your sword of strength. And once your strength is tested, once you have tested the force, the beast comes at you with another relentless weapon, which is time under tension. This is lethal right here. At first, holding your drums feels steady and easy. You're fine. You're locked in. But over time, each rep and each second under the drum's weight starts to chip away at your posture, draining your energy and pulling you toward survival mode. Show of hands, have any of you ever been in survival mode? I lived there for many years. Excellent. In this state, your focus begins to slip and your mistakes multiply exponentially. Your body teeters on the edge of pain. But there's a defense against this weapon, and that is the shield of control. With it, we will manage intensity to protect our strength, our focus, and our well-being. This is not about outlasting the beast, because you will not outlast gravity. It's about controlling the battle itself. So why does controlling intensity matter? Strength alone isn't enough, because even the strongest of us will fall into survival mode when the going gets too tough. And when you overtrain, you risk burnout injury, and low morale because no one is achieving excellence in survival mode. So how do we control this intensity? In a workout, intensity is managed by controlling variables like the weight you're using, 45 pounds versus 225 pounds. One is clearly heavier. Or the rep range, 5 reps versus 20 reps. What do you think is harder? 20 reps with 45 pounds or 5 reps with 225 pounds? Who knows? How many sets are we doing? Are we going to do 2 rounds of that? We're going to do 5 rounds of that? How long is the rest period? Is it 30 seconds or is it 3 minutes? All of these variables can lead to injury if they are not managed safely in a workout. Similarly, in a rehearsal, intensity is managed by controlling the variables, like the tempo, 140 beats per minute versus 210, or the step size, 16 to 5 versus 6 to 5. As a quad player, oh my God. The distance you're covering, are you marching for 8 counts or are you going to march for 64 counts? All of these right here are equivalent to the weight of the rep. Also on top of that, the number of repetitions we're doing adds up. How many reps? The rest between the reps, are you hitting them with a quick reset or are they pausing to get feedback? The duration of the rehearsal segment, are we going to go for 25 minutes before water or 50 minutes before water? That is equivalent to the sets. And the time spent wearing the drums, are they wearing the drums for 30 minutes or an entire 4-hour block? Oh God, I hope not. It's the workout duration. But of all of these factors, the most important factor to consider is the age and the size of the human. Meet Matthew. Matthew is one of my students. He is 15 years old, 5'3", weighs 105 pounds, and marches quads. Brace yourself for some math here. When standing on a scale without his drums, Matthew weighed 105 pounds. So we put the drums on him, and now he weighed 152 pounds. So if we do some math, his drums weighed 47 pounds, which is crazy. This is 44% of his body weight. But when the drums are down and they're lowered, the center of gravity moves further away from the body, which makes them feel much heavier. Notice the center of gravity of these drums is getting further away from my hips as I lower them down. So let's talk about physics real quick. Imagine holding a 20-pound ball close to your chest. And now imagine holding that same 20-pound ball with your arms fully extended in front of you. Which do you think will feel heavier? That one right there, as you can tell by my struggling face here. The weight of the ball remains the same, but our perception of that weight changes. So how does perceived weight apply to lowering the quads down? It's about to get real nerdy. I did a video calculating this. We calculated the center of mass of a set of drums and measured the distance from the belly plate to the J-hook. With that info, I could calculate how far that center of gravity was from the body. I use that information to find the torque, which is that rotational force that we feel right there. And as you lower the drums down, that force intensifies. And as you bring them back up, the torque lessens, but it is always there. So with the drums are up, that torque was 23 pounds per foot. With the drums down, that torque was 46 pounds per foot, which means it felt double. So when we're lowering the drums down, they're going to feel about double the weight. Mind you, the weight of the drum is not changing. How it feels is changing, and it's increasing by 2. So if Matthew's drums weigh 47 pounds, then when they're lowered, they feel closer to 94 pounds. This is 90% of Matthew's body weight. That's nuts. For relative weight comparison, today I weigh 205 pounds. If I marched with a similar relative load as Matthew, then my drums would be 92 pounds. That's the equivalent of wearing not 1, but 2 sets of quads. So if I march with 2 sets of quads and Matthew marches with 1 set, we're both trying the same amount. So how does this apply to controlling rehearsal intensity? I want you to imagine how the rehearsal variables can impact Matthew's ability to stand with good posture. Okay, how long is he going to be able to hold this for the rehearsal before he falls into something like that? And he's not going to give up, right? In marching band and drumline, we can't just all right, I'm going to chill for a couple reps. Everyone is in this together. All of these are going to impact his ability to do the thing. There are way too many factors to truly have a strategic way for managing the intensity for everybody. We've got different drums, different sizes, different strengths. So what do we do? Here are my tips to control rehearsal intensity. 1, normalize lifting the drums up and taking back breaks. Please, normalize this, because I was shamed by my peers for lifting my drums up before the section leader. And you know how that turned out. That was the trade-off. Some students will need more breaks than others, and we need to give them what they need. I know that you have beats to clean, but your beats will last 1 season, and their spine will last their lifetime. Number 2, empower your students to train outside of rehearsal. Students who build strength and condition their bodies are much better equipped to handle that rehearsal intensity. But telling them to work out is not nearly as helpful as giving them a structured program to complete it. I was told, train your core. No one told me how, so I didn't do it. Forte Athletics has a ton of free resources to help get started. Now, serious question for all of you in this room right now. If students aren't willing to train outside of rehearsal, should we allow them to carry heavy drums? That is a moral dilemma that we face because they want to do it. I believe that they must train if they want to carry the drum. And if they don't want to train, you don't need to carry that drum. Number 3, for controlling rehearsal intensity, is to limit your rehearsal segments to 25 minutes of work. Follow that with a 3 to 5 minute rest period. This will ensure that they're getting an appropriate frequency and duration of rest breaks. Depending on the weather, you might need more. And the timer will keep them focused so that they attack the reps with good, strong effort. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's guilty of getting lost in the sauce and losing track of time, pushing that water break. We'll get it, 2 more reps. Okay, 2 more reps, oh, and now it's lunch. Sorry, have a good lunch. Number 4, check in with them. Ask how they're feeling at rehearsal and listen to what they're telling you. I stayed up until 3 a.m. working on a project is valuable insight into what they will be capable of achieving. Number 5, gradually progress the intensity. Start light, wear the harness. March for a short duration, 15 minutes, work your way up to 30 minutes. And then put the drums on. Start small, 15 minutes, work your way up to 30 minutes. And then at the end, drums on and down. 15 minutes, working up to 30 minutes. This whole process right here should take about 2 weeks to reach that end point. Now let's recap. 5 tips for managing rehearsal intensity. Normalize lifting the drums. Please, if there's anything we walk away with from this presentation, is that. 2, empower a culture of performers who train. 3, limit rehearsal segments. 4, check in with them. And 5, gradually progress the intensity. All of these things are things that we can do to reduce our risk of injury. And as we learn to use the shield of control, we realize that even the most powerful shield can't fully protect against the beast's unrelenting push. Because over time, the muscles stiffen, the joints tighten, and the weight of each movement begins to feel super heavy. The body cries out for rest and a chance to breathe and reset. And this is where our final tool comes in, the potion of flexibility. Imagine taking a sip of this potion. The cool, glowing liquid flows through you, releasing tension built up from hours of effort. Your muscles loosen, your joints feel freer, and your body feels lighter as if shedding a weight. Disclaimer, there's no alcohol in this potion. Each sip brings relief, restoring your ability to move with ease and preparing you for the next challenge. There are 5 sips that you must take to fully restore your health. The first is a forward fold and hang. And if any of you would like to follow along, I invite you to do this on the sides, or you can just watch me do it. To do a forward fold, this is going to promote decompression of your spine, which will balance the compressive forces of wearing the drum. To do this, just let your torso hang forward. You can bend your knees, and you can cross your arms. We're letting gravity pull the spine downward. Okay, a forward fold. And if you're rounding your back, you probably need to bend your knees a little bit more, just like that. Some cues: hinge at the hips, torso hangs down, neck and head feel heavy, pulling you down. So the second sip is a lying twist. You will need to get down to the ground for this one. This stretches the spine and hips, loosening up the stiff joints. To do this, you're going to lie on your back with your knees bent and drop them to the side just like you see right here. Keeping both shoulders anchored to the ground will promote a twisting through your spine, all the way from the lower back up. The third sip is knees to chest. To do this, you're going to stretch the lower back and the hip muscles that stabilize the pelvis near the belly plate. You just bring your knees to your chest, you hug them in, and you breathe. You relax into it. The fourth sip is a standing chair twist. This is the one I do the most personally. This is going to stretch the deep lower back muscles that are used to stabilize near the pelvis. To do it, you bend your knees, you cross one arm across the body, and you twist, rotating your chest up towards the sky, and if you're doing it correctly, you will feel deep stretch in the lower back. I'll do this when I'm teaching, I'll do this when I'm working, I do it when I wake up. It's amazing, trust. The fifth and final sip is a puppy pose. To do this, you're on the ground, all fours, hips are stacked over the knees, you slide the arms out, and your chest falls to the ground. This is going to stretch your upper back near the back bar. I would hold this for 30 seconds and breathe into it. You can also do this with your harness. You put your harness on the ground, and you put your hands on the harness, and you just boom. And again, I've done this video several times on that. So let's recap. These 5 stretches right here will help counter the forces you've been feeling. Now, when is the best time to drink from the potion of flexibility? During your water breaks or your back breaks. That is the best time. Instead of turning to your phone during a water break, use these stretches to restore your energy. Now, as we gather our tools, the sword of strength, the shield of control, and the potion of flexibility, let's remember that this battle with the back pain beast of Drumline is not a one-time fight. For every day, as long as there is gravity, the beast will be there ready to challenge you. But with these tools, you are prepared to power through the forces, to manage rehearsal intensity, and to recover from that battle. And while these tools are extremely useful, they are not a substitute for professional medical help. And if you are experiencing back pain, go seek professional medical help from your doctor or physical therapist. Now, if you're ready to take these first steps, please scan this QR code for a 100% free Drumline back strengthening program that covers everything we talked about today. This is for you. I want to give a quick shout out to the Ensemble Block Media team for recording this session. They just released a new course with Paul Rennick teaching, so if you've got an opportunity to check that out, use the code Forte24 for a discount on that thing. I will for sure be watching it. And with that said, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you.